Hi guys, welcome to the channel again at OCD Real
Hello.
Talk. Just us three simple folk over here today. We
Really like
thought we
that.
would take a little bit of time to just speak about subtle compulsions, compulsions that go missed, and that are in fact because they go missed, they're also the harder ones to get rid of. So this was Sam's idea to talk about today. So Sam, why don't you kick us off? What kind of subtle compulsions do you want to talk about, or what subtle compulsions do you think go missed the most in conversations about OCD?
Yeah, I find a lot of it is neutralizing the thought. It can be very subtle. Sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it. And it took me ages because a thought would come in and unwanted time, let's say during sex. So I'd be constantly trying to think of the opposite or just completely try and neutralize it. Now, it took me ages to realize that is such a subtle compulsion. I just got to bring it for the ride and just let whatever come in, come in. But it took me ages to realize that. Because you feel like it's a natural reaction to get rid of it. I really don't want that. So by trying to shout the opposite or just try and think the other way is a subtle compulsion. Another one I want to mention is with fear of fear and with the internal thermometer. Now that's very subtle as well. Constantly measuring how you're thinking, how you're feeling, if you're making progress, are you doing the right thing? How's your recovery journey? All the stuff you could think is a genuine concern and a genuine, am I doing all right? It can so quickly become compulsive, just chasing how you're feeling and see if you're doing it just right or doing it properly. So that's my two main ones, I think, with
I think
subtle.
Sam, actually, you should. I think you should also you should do a video on neutralizing thoughts as well. I think because it's something
Yeah,
that does go missed quite a lot,
yeah,
and because even with neutralization, there are different ways we do it. There are various sorts of statements that we tell ourselves. It
yeah,
can be like, "Oh, this is just OCD." That can be a way of neutralizing it, or
yeah,
it can be, "No, no, this isn't the worst thing." That can be neutralization. It can also be like, no, XYZ person said this, so this must not be true. Like it can be literally any kind of statement or any kind of constant reminder that we are giving ourselves that neutralizes that thought. So yeah, I think highlighting that would be great. Do your next video on that. I think that would be really helpful for people to hear about as well. Gemma, compulsion queen.
the factor of
Yeah, pretty
compulsion.
much. So I would say for me, the biggest subtle compulsions would have been my avoidance behaviors. So I never really had masses of outward a lot of my compulsions were mental. Also I thought initially, and then I realized I was doing a lot of avoidance behaviors for a very, very long time. They were very, very subtle to the point where I'm still picking up on some now and thinking, I think that's actually a bit of a compulsion as well. So one that I've noticed recently, which I found quite interesting, is in work, when someone would ask me if we could have a meeting about something and they would give me like 4 or 5 dates that they were available, I'd always want to pick the latest date. And in my mind, that's me going, if I pick the latest possible day, I'll be feeling better by that. But like if I'm feeling a bit better now, then in a week's time, in 2 weeks'
Mm,
time, I'll be feeling better then. And when people ask me if I want to do something and they'll kind of say, oh, I'm free this weekend or but not next weekend, but the weekend after, I'll go for the latest date. And I've noticed that that's something that I do a lot as a like way of, when I then do that thing, hopefully I'll feel better at that point. So that was really interesting when I picked that one up, because like now that I've noticed it, I do it all the time with everything, like meetings for my daughter's school, like everything. And so I'm trying to make myself now always choose the soonest day. And every time I do it, I feel a bit, ooh. And so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It
that's
feels a
definitely
bit too like
something.
in your face.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
No, it's funny
interesting.
you bring that up because I had so for me what would happen is that whenever would someone would say, "Oh, let's hang out," or like, "When can you meet? We should do this," or whatever. I would have anxiety about committing to any day, whether it was
Mm.
soon or late, because it just, I don't know, something about scheduling things in and just committing to a time and day made me feel trapped. It was a very subtle way of it was just like I'm being cornered. And
Yeah.
as an OCD sufferer, you want to maintain control and freedom over yourself, right? You don't want to like you feel uncomfortable when you have to do things based on other people's needs and wants.
Yeah.
So that's something I would do. I would always be like, I'll get back to you in a day, and because for me it will be like, oh, I would get time to process and mentally prepare for it in a day to commit, and then I
talk
can
myself
really
into it. Yeah.
basically. Or I would say, hey, I can let you know closer to the day. I'm not entirely sure. I would like just dodge the
And that's
commitment.
like
So
I think that's
100%
making
that
sure
comes up.
you feel okay as well. You think, oh, if I can I tell you like a couple of days before, then you can measure how you're feeling at that point and go, oh, I'm feeling okay, so maybe I'll be okay to do it.
Yeah, a lot of my
and that's why I struggle with spontaneous plans too.
A lot of my
Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Would be, I mean, Rob did a video on it recently where it's just right OCD and that perfectionism. So you feel right. So you'd be chasing a feeling, something as, I don't know, wearing a jumper, or that just doesn't feel right. And just, if I give an example, so what you're talking about when you delay it to the last minute, like you were saying, Gemma, if I got a day out and let's say I need to buy a train ticket or a plane ticket, I'd wait as late as I can because I didn't want that to be ruined. So I had to make sure I felt right, just in case, right up to the build up, I got ill or had a relapse, and now I'll cancel it last minute. So I wait until right, I'm going to feel all right. Let's get me ticket. So that subtle compulsion, which at the time I didn't even realise, but now I'm looking back going, fucking hell, like that is a massive compulsion, but just not realising it.
I'll also give you another example. Again, just it gets blurred out over here. Just a pen, right? You click it, and it's like okay, and then you do this, and it's like okay, I need to do it one more time, maybe 3 times. What feels right enough, and then you keep doing it, and I feel like my video has gotten stuck, so I don't know if you guys saw the pen going up and down, but like essentially you got this mechanism, right? So it's constantly clicking. Yeah. So it's constantly clicking the pen just to see what's right. What feels good enough. And if I did not do it that amount of times that felt good enough, it made me feel like something was wrong. Like literally something was wrong. In life something was wrong. That kind of, and I just need to resolve that feeling, and I kept doing it over and over again.
The things that you can't believe that other sufferers do is where you think it's just you, and then you hear other people talk about it and you're like, wow, like, I thought that was just my little OCD thing. For example, like sending a text message or sending an email and just retyping it and rewriting it because you might have had a thought at the time, and just in case you've typed that out, so it doesn't feel right, so you can't send that. And just I spent ages typing out messages because I didn't feel right sending it then, and just chasing that feeling of feeling right. I couldn't believe hearing other people do the same thing.
I always forget.
Have you guys had anxiety?
Sorry.
Have you guys generally? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. My internet got slow again. You can go ahead first.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to say, I actually forget a lot of the compulsions I've done over the years until we do things like this, when we do real talks. This is why I think we talk over each other a little bit at times as well, is because we get excited because we're like, you do that, but I used to do that. and you realize that all these things that you thought were just quirky things that you've done your whole life, we've all like done very, very similar things.
I find the most difficult thing though was finding the balance. So let's say if I don't know, touching raw chicken, let's say I'm cooking. So of course you'd wash your hands is what you do, but then where do you draw the limit? I wash my hands too much. Like every time I touch something, like that towel will touch a chicken, or that bottle will touch a chicken. Have I then got to wash my hands every time I touch something? So it's finding that balance, and that can be very difficult with OCD because it can just nestle in just out of reach, where you can't quite tell if it is or not. So that was the hardest thing with me, getting over those little subtle compulsions. I just had to risk that even if it was a compulsion, I still got to do it anyway, because you can never find out.
I think it's really hard because with all of the fears that we have, there is an element of truth to them. There is, the things that we fear are dangerous can be dangerous. So it is working out, you know, what is that line where we have to be sensible about it, and we almost have to treat it even like less like a danger than someone without OCD would, because if we treat it to the same extent that they do, we'll go over the top with it. So we almost have to be a little bit risky so that we're not going
Exactly
to that all or nothing.
That's
Exactly.
actually really, I think you worded it perfectly. That element of taking the risk and going with the uncertainty, like for a regular person, it doesn't feel like they're taking a risk. They're just going with their life. For us, it's like we are actually taking a risk because we are well aware of them so much at all times that it feels like it is there at any point. So 100%. I think you worded it very, very well. I think like another subtle one for me was also because we love to latch on to good feelings and like good things. So for me, it was that came in the form of really trying to savor watching a good movie or listening to like new music by a singer that I really like or something like that. So I would wait for like the right time in the day when everything was quiet. I knew no one would bother me. I had a nice, cup of coffee or something like that with me. And then I would sit and do it because I would like, no, I need to fully immerse myself in that experience. Otherwise, I won't get that gratification out of this experience. So that was also waiting for the right feeling and waiting for the right moment to do something. 100% a subtle compulsion for me.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Sorry, Sam, carry on.
It's the same with films and books. So if I've missed like I don't know, like 2 minutes in a film, let's say I was talking, I have to stop it, go back, just in case I ruin the whole film, or just in case I missed the most important bit.
Yes.
Reading a book, it was like, wow, rereading a page, just make sure I took in every word, and just get ridiculous. Like then, did I make sure I get this? Have I done that? Have I done this? Have I done that? And then just being stuck on one page, rereading it over and over again.
Yeah, those are all little ones that
For one of my friends.
Sorry, Momin.
Sorry, I don't know. This damn internet, it keeps like switching up. No, I just wanted to say one of my friends, he used to do this where I don't know, he had this strange rule that he said whenever I want to start a new show, I just do it after 9 p.m. in the day. Like I never watch a show or like a movie before 9 p.m. And I was like, what? And he's like, no, it just doesn't feel right to watch before 9 p.m. And obviously he had OCD and eventually like he got better. But yeah, I mean, again, it can be so silly and so it can feel inconsequential, really.
Yeah.
So sometimes like the risk factor, let's say if you started watching before 9 p.m., there's no real risk factor other than, no, it just doesn't feel right. Right. So that's also sometimes when people go with, well, there's no urgency, there's no danger, so I can still keep doing this. But no, you are still latching onto a certain perfect feeling. So that is still a compulsion that's keeping the fear cycle alive.
Yeah, I find it's like chasing certainty and just you think is safe, don't you? So if I give an example, when I was suffering with hit and run OCD, so to check my rearview mirror just felt so automatic. It just felt like I had to check it. And you think, well, any normal person would check it. But then this is what we're saying, it's finding that balance with OCD. So is it a compulsion? Is it OCD? And it just felt so automatic. Same with real event false memory. It just felt like I had to work it out. Felt like I had no choice. I had to go back in the past and find the magic key. And that those mental compulsions just felt like I had to do it. It just felt like I couldn't possibly stop that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gemma, were you going to say something?
Yeah,
yeah, Gemma, I was waiting for you to go because I didn't want to talk over you again.
I never want to talk because I'm not sure if someone else is about to talk. Yeah, so just back to the perfectionism thing, that's always been a really, really big one for me. Like I can't like relax in certain situations. So I used to be really funny about my house being tidy before I could feel relaxed. Like if my house wasn't tidy, like bear in mind, I've never had that hasn't really been a theme for me, but that has been a little background thing. And like things feeling right. And if I'm going to enjoy something, I want to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it last time. I noticed I did this recently. I went on a speedboat in Wales, which I absolutely love. Every time I go to Wales, I go on the speedboats there. And I went on it, and he wasn't playing music. And normally he plays like this really loud music while you're on the speedboat. And I could feel myself getting quite agitated, because I was going, no, but last time he had the music and I really enjoyed it because he was playing the music. And I went, excuse me, are you not putting the music up? And I was like, no, stop. And he was like, oh, it's not working. And I was like, I was getting really agitated, because I was thinking, I'm not going to enjoy this as much as I enjoyed it last time, because that was a big part of it. And at the end of it, I thought I still enjoyed it. It's fine. But I noticed myself wanting the moment to be as perfect as it normally is. And
that's an important point you bring up, Gemma, because I think one thing that, again, gets unnoticed quite a lot is us trying to replicate past experiences, replicating a past experience, replicating past feelings. We do that so much. We want to recreate that experience for ourselves. Another subtle compulsion for me, watching the same YouTube videos over and over again because I enjoyed them. Like every week, there would be a rewatch video that I would do. It was familiar, it was nice, it was comforting. There was nothing new I had to take in, no new information that would, overwhelm me or anything. Again, recreating that experience of joy and feeling nice about watching that specific video. 100% we do that all the time with so many things. And we get super disappointed and annoyed when things are not replicated the way we want them to, when they're not completely, when they do not fall into the envisioned thing that we have in our brain. 100%.
I think the biggest thing that's helped me is doing it anyway, regardless of how you're feeling. So if I give an example of exercising, now if we waited until we felt ready to exercise, we probably wouldn't do it, especially early on. Now is I'm gonna go for a run tomorrow, and even I wake up and the last thing I want to do is go for a run, I'm gonna do it anyway. And that you can relate to that aggressively during, let's say, reading the books, doing exposure. The last thing you probably want to do when you're suffering is open up a book on the myth of self-esteem and read 30 pages. That's probably the last thing you think about doing. But doing it no matter how you're feeling, doing it regardless, that's the biggest thing that's helped me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, it goes for anything, even something like watching a movie. Watch it when it doesn't feel right. Listen to songs when it doesn't feel right. Read the books when it doesn't feel right. Hang out with your friends if it doesn't feel right. Do what needs to be done, because if you stop yourself to be like, no, I need to wait for like the right feeling or the right thought, you're creating that cycle and framework for your brain of perfectionism that it's craving. Things need to be very, methodological. Things need to be very regimented. And as long as I keep following that regimented routine, I'm going to keep recreating the happiness in my life and the joy in my life.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it latches to big events in your life. Because if you're chasing that feeling that, let's say you're going on holiday or you're getting married next week, and you're so desperate to feel okay, or just not to be suffering with OCD, or just to feel really good, hence why it latches onto that. So if you're going on holiday, no matter how you're feeling, you're getting married no matter how you're feeling. And this is what I mean, just not fearing it coming back.
You say that as you are planning your own wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not happening anytime soon, but
giving yourself a pep talk there,
Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be okay. I can still do it, even if it doesn't feel okay.
I am going to get married, regardless.
Sam, by the way, like post engagement, so far, do you feel like OCD has tried to rear its head a little bit in terms of like fear or something?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, especially during the build, when I was planning the proposal, it was definitely rearing its head then, like with our OCD and things like that, stuff that would just throw me astray for obvious reasons. And obviously planning the wedding, you get the financial stuff as well, and the ROC linked in. But it's just applying the tools. Like, it's nothing new. There's obviously a fear behind it.
Boring at this point. I said it's boring at this point, isn't it? When it comes back with something, you're just like, really?
Yeah.
Are we going there?
So live with me
Yeah.
on holiday. Oh, so OCD, it was going to latch onto that, but then we're going to let it stop me. Just going to bring it for the ride and just once I knew it was a fear cycle, which is what's helped me the most. Then I'm looking at the fear. What am I scared of here? And just doing it regardless. I'm not going to then, all right, then I'm not going to propose because OCD said this, OCD said that.
Yeah.
Doing it regardless and having that fuck it approach.
Yeah, no, and I think like it is about that and this is what I also explain to people when I'm working with them as well. Am I worried now that tomorrow I'm going to start, maybe there might be a trigger tomorrow, or maybe something will happen that's going to throw me off, or maybe I'm going to have 2 weeks where I might be really stressed or anxious about something. Not really. Since recovering, yes, that has happened. Obviously, I have had stressful weeks in my life. I have had things happen where I have felt a bit anxious or on edge about certain things. Who doesn't? Like, literally, who doesn't? You have illnesses in the family. You have important events coming up. You have so many things happen in your life that really are on your mind quite a lot. So am I really worried about it? Worried about going through another period of anxiety? No. And I think that's exactly that kind of approach is what helps it not latch then. Because you will feel anxious, but you won't be in the grip of OCD.
This is what I love
Because
so much. Oh, sorry,
no,
Mo.
no, go ahead.
This is what I love so much about the tools. It's not just OCD. It's empowering in life, and just like
Yeah.
normal people without OCD do. And you're using those tools. You've got that advantage to use those tools that you've learned from OCD to get you through all sorts of things in life. I mean, stuff that people be anxious about anyway. You've got that help because you've had OCD, so you know what's helped you with OCD. So you use it in all parts of life. Mo looks like he's falling asleep on me. Sorry, am I boring you, Mo?
No, I could hear you, but my video was stuck clearly. I knew that because
It
my
just
video was
stuck in a
stuck.
great
So that's
position.
what-
Gemma, do you have any talking on this video now? Have you thought of any other come in? You just can't believe that other people do that as well. It is not just you. You just thought you were the only one that did little behaviours or whatever.
I have heard people say this before, but you saying it just now has reminded me of how bad I am still now for doing this with the rewinding programs, because I feel like I've missed something. That is definitely something that I think I still do to an extent, and I try not to. And I know it's a compulsion because when I stop doing it, I feel uncomfortable, and it is like that not wanting to miss something. But yeah, that's something that I was really interested when I first heard someone else mention, because I hadn't realized that was anything to do with OCD. I just thought I really don't like to miss things. But yeah, most compulsions that I have done are mental. I do have physical compulsions. I have had physical compulsions, but I think a lot of my stuff has always been mental.
Yeah. Live events. Obviously, you can't rewind that. It says.
Okay. What would you do?
Imagine. Oh, hang on a minute. Can you just get them back in there? Do that again. So that was a good test. Like, okay, I might have missed that. And then you constantly think, oh, did I miss this, or was my mind elsewhere? That was a good little test. Like, I can't rewind that.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea.
Can you sing that?
Watch some live sports.
That's a music concert. Hang on, can you sing that song again?
Right. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us on another Real Talk, and we will see you next time.
Bye bye.